Oh, I love you, my dear India. You are the sweetest land of all. I love you in the winter, summer, spring, and in the fall. I love your fertile valleys, your dear Ganges I adore. I love your Indian Ocean, and I love a ragged shore. Oh, I love you, my dear India. You are the sweetest land of all. I love you in the winter, summer, spring, and in the fall. I love your fertile valleys, your dear Ganges I adore. I love your Indian Ocean, and I love a ragged shore. Where the snow-crowned golden Himalayas keep the watch, where the sages bloom, it is there that I would be. In the land of the free, it is there that I would be. In the land of the free.
Paramahansa Yogananda changed the world. One of the greatest saints of the 20th century, he brought the ancient science of well-being, mastery of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of life to an awakening humanity. He honored the divine in every person and taught how to awaken to our true nature and full potential. His mission was founded in the science of religion, a profound awareness of the underlying beliefs and practices common to all authentic religious traditions. He encouraged everyone to develop the spiritual dimension of life, to discover their personal relationship with God. Immersed in the inner bliss of soul awareness, he taught that heaven is not a place to go after physical death, but that heaven is within us, and how to experience it. He touched millions, improving their lives, showing them the way to be happy, fulfilled, and successful. How did Yogananda become such a powerful force for positive, world-transforming change? The strength of his personality and character, his enlightened consciousness, and his commitment to a lifetime of selfless service came through years of study, practice, devotion, the transformative touch of a master, and unwavering dedication to complete spiritual realization. He was steeped in the rich spiritual culture of India. He was profoundly influenced by great saints. Sri Ramakrishna, a highly realized spiritual powerhouse, who was able to ignite flames of devotion in the hearts of all who came near. He taught that the one God could be experienced through all religions. Mahendranath Gupta, an illumined disciple of Sri Ramakrishna and great educator, recorded his master's words verbatim, making this great teaching available for seeking souls in his time and for generations to come far into the future. Swami Ramatirtha, enlightened teacher and spiritual dynamo who traveled to America, bringing profound insights from the ancient Vedas through his books and lectures. Baduri Mahashaya, a sage Yogananda referred to as the levitating saint in his autobiography. And the great masters of Kriya Yoga. From his youth, to know God was Yogananda's one absorbing thought. His mind and heart were ever fixed on being spiritually awake. He spent endless hours in meditation, prayer, devotional chanting, spiritual discourse, and study of the great world scriptures in order to awaken to the consciousness of one supreme reality. Paramahansa Yogananda was born Mukunda Lal Ghosh on January 5, 1893, into a world in transition. Barely a century before, the United States and France had won their independence. Now his motherland was struggling to be free as well. The agricultural and industrial revolutions were creating a new economic freedom for the masses and more time to pursue interests in art, music, and self-development. Electricity was just beginning to be deployed for lighting and to power motors that would accelerate progress into the modern era. The internal combustion engine was being applied to transportation with new horseless carriages and motorcycles, increasing the speed and the distance it was possible to travel. With newfound freedom and dramatic change, driven by science and technology, there was a growing need for spiritual balance. A renewed understanding of man's true nature was destined to come from the motherland of spirituality and religion, India. Here, every home has an altar. Millions of blossoms are sold every day for the sole purpose of worship. Individuals begin their day offering the flowers of their devotion to God through prayer, ritual, and meditation. The magnificent Ganges River, winding its way for more than 1,500 miles, is revered as an expression of Divine Mother, source of life and nurturing support. Tens of thousands gather daily at sundown to chant and worship her with tiny rafts of candles and flowers. Temples, roadside shrines, holy statues, garlands of flowers, incense burning, everywhere. Dashboards are adorned with icons of saints or gods. People, places, cities, towns, all have spiritual names. Greeting is with folded hands and a bow of respect, or saying, Namaste, I bow to the divinity in you. Mukunda lived in Gorakhpur until he was 9 years old. His father, Bhagavati Charan Ghosh, served as deputy examiner in the office of the government examiner of railway accounts. He earned a very good salary, lived simply, was frugal, and thus was able to easily supply all of his family's needs with a substantial surplus. Mukunda referred to his mother, Gyanaprabha Ghosh, as Queen of Hearts, because she was a loving, compassionate parent, devoted wife, deeply spiritual, and generous with the poor. Mukunda found comfort and safety in his loving mother's presence. With one older brother and 2 older sisters, he was the 4th of 8 children. Both parents were disciples of a great saint living in Benares. The teachings of the quiet, unassuming Lahiri Mahashaya would eventually spread worldwide through the efforts of their son. Shyamacharan Lahiri Mahashaya unlocked the secrets of the soul. From a humble home in a remote corner of the oldest inhabited city on earth, his science of spiritual awakening breathed new life into man's quest to know God. Becoming a wind of change, it now carries millions of sincere seekers to realization of their divine nature. Yamacharan was born in 1828 to a prosperous family. His father, Gormahan, was a devout Hindu. He built a Shiva temple for worship and read from the Rig Veda every day. When Shyamacharan was 5, his mother had died and their home was lost in a flood. The family moved to Benares, where his 2 older stepbrothers and stepsister were already living. A bright student and voracious reader, Shyamacharan was intelligent, devotional, strong, and athletic. He enjoyed swimming some distance in the cold Ganges and then back against the current. Gentle and unpretentious, he excelled at literature, history, geography, and language, learning Bengali, Hindi, English, Urdu, some Farsi, and Sanskrit. A call to spiritual awakening dawned within him at an early age. Every day after school, he would chant from scripture with his Vedic tutor, then visit Sri Kedarnath temple to honor Lord Shiva. He would follow with prayers and devotion on the ghats, the concrete steps along the sacred river. In 1846, at age 18, his marriage to Kashi Moni was arranged. After graduating, it was hard to find a job. In 1849, he went to work as a clerk for the British military, in the department responsible for procuring supplies and supervising road building. His father died in 1852, and by the following year, disagreement with his stepbrothers over property ownership led him to move from the family home and rent a house. Life was filled with many difficulties. He and his wife faced financial challenges. Always peace-loving and spiritually inclined, when his inheritance was taken by family members, he avoided conflict and let it go. Because wages from his position as a clerk were barely enough, he taught Hindi and Urdu to British co-workers for extra income. Through the years, when Kashimoni would worry about finances, he would simply say, "Pray to Lord Vishwanath. Surely, he who sustains the universe can maintain a small family." Shyamacharan believed that education should be available to all. Always industrious, he helped found a high school in the Bengali section of Benares and served for years as its founder secretary. He was also retained to serve as private tutor for a long period of time to the fourth prince of the royal family of Nepal. All this in addition to his job as a government clerk. Kashimoni was a frugal wife, managing to save enough from her husband's meager salary to purchase a home in 1864 before the birth of their second son. Here, near the Bengali Tola, they raised 2 sons and 3 daughters. In November of 1868, Shyamacharan was transferred as head clerk to Raniket in the Kumon Hills, Almora district of Uttarakhand, where the British military planned to build a hill station. The first leg of his long journey to the lofty Himalayan foothills was by train to Delhi. The final 240 kilometers of his trip were traveled by Ekka, a small one-horse carriage. In Raniket, at 2,000 meters above sea level, with the magnificent Himalayan peaks as a backdrop, the spiritually charged, enchanting atmosphere called to some forgotten memory deep within his being. Here, his nights were spent out in the wild forest, sleeping in a tent alongside the workers he was assigned to. Shyamacharan had heard that a few renunciate yogis were residing in this remote district. On a day when his duties finished early, he set out on an uphill hike through dense forest to visit Dunagiri Temple, an ancient sacred shrine honoring Divine Mother. After an arduous climb through the crisp winter morning, he met a holy sadhu. Except for the young man's long hair, the resemblance was so strong he could well have passed for Shyamacharan's brother. This was the great yogi, Babaji. Babaji planted a divine seed of awakening consciousness that is now blossoming in millions of hearts around the world. He was a master of 5,000-year-old spiritual practices perfected by renunciate sages. These sadhus, or wise holy men, left the comforts of society and the endless drama of desire, expectation, frustration, and suffering in order to discover the meaning of life. Remote and sacred spaces like Dunagiri were ideal environments to plumb the depths of mind and consciousness. Babaji did not stay in any one place for long and was known to travel with several of his disciples. He was friendly and joyful, strict yet deeply compassionate, and had a fine sense of humor. It is rumored that he was over 300 years old at that time, able to maintain a youthful body by periodically performing the rejuvenative yogic procedure of Kaya Kalpa. In the great yogi's cave, Shyamacharan was overcome with devotion to this enlightened master. In subsequent days, Babaji shared ancient Raja Yoga methods of meditation and purification for inner development. One evening, after purification rites, Babaji initiated Shyamacharan Lahiri, along with another aspirant, into the timeless tradition now referred to as Kriya Yoga. Initiation is a new beginning and a commitment to spiritual mastery. The guru or teacher shares energy and meditation techniques with the disciple. Shyamacharan was instructed to resume his life as a householder. Babaji taught him how to perform initiation so that he would eventually be able to transmit the practices he had learned and perpetuate the sacred tradition. In January, he was granted medical leave to return home. Back in Benares, resuming his duties as a clerk, Shyamacharan continued his studies of Hindu scripture and spent time every day in deep meditation. He experimented with the actions or kriyas learned for the purpose of purifying and calming the mind. He worshipped Atman, or innate soul, turning his awareness to the indwelling, enlivening expression of God. He adapted the intricate Raja Yoga routines of reclusive renunciates into a program that could be used by householders for spiritual awakening, and kept detailed journals of his personal practice and progress. Even though he was a quiet, humble yogi, word spread of his teaching and advanced enlightenment. He spent evenings in the parlor of his home, freely sharing his wisdom and meditating with students. They referred to him respectfully as Yogi Raj, Kashi Baba, or Lahiri Baba. After bathing in the Ganges for purification, new aspirants would receive initiation. He asked them not to tell others that he was their guru, not to talk about what they had learned, rather to only focus on their practice. Lahiri Baba said the spiritual practices he was teaching were Atma Kriya, actions performed to be soul cognizant. He shared methods for inner worship of prana, life energy moving in the spine and upper brain in order to attain absolute tranquility of body and mind, resulting in a transcendental experience of one's true self. He taught the kriyas or techniques that were best suited to each individual's temperament, capacity, and progress. He commented on many classic Hindu scriptures, but his favorite was the Bhagavad Gita. Becoming increasingly popular after retirement, he made his innovative, non-sectarian approach to spirituality and individualized Kriya practice available to all, regardless of caste or religion. The lives of Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Jains, Jews, and Parsis were all blessed and enriched from contact with this great sage and his insightful teaching. In his humble, unpretentious way, Lahiri Mahashaya initiated more than 5,000 individuals in his lifetime and continues to be acknowledged as a great saint. Mukunda's parents' guru, Lahiri Mahashaya, blessed him as a baby, predicting he would become a spiritual engine, leading many souls to God. This benediction was only the beginning of the Yogi Raja's lifelong guiding influence on Yogananda. At the age of 11, Mukunda's father was transferred to Bareilly. While settling in their new residence, Mother was in Calcutta, making arrangements for the wedding of older brother Ananta, renting a spacious house at 50 Amherst Street. The day his father was to begin his new job, Mother died. She had been tending a boy with cholera, contracted the disease herself, and passed quickly. This was a hard blow for the devoted young Mukunda. His natural love for Divine Mother developed into an obsessive ardor as he sought a replacement for his lost parent. By 1906, the family had relocated to Calcutta. Bhagavati Ghosh nurtured his sons' spiritual education, requiring them to memorize all the verses of Swami Shankara's treatise on the world's delusions, and he initiated Mukunda into the meditation techniques of light and sound. Mukunda started exploring the realms of mind and consciousness at an early age. Through regular meditation practice, he discovered the extraordinary potential of mind, demonstrating knowledge of distant events, predicting the future, and manifesting the power of the spoken word. He played with hypnotism, using his little brother Sananda for demonstrations. Worshipping the goddess Kali Ma and experimenting with Tantra practice, he left no stone unturned in his dedication to spiritual awakening. A natural leader, his enchanting and magnetic personality, deeply devotional nature, and commitment to spiritual mastery attracted many into his orbit. These he inspired and motivated, serving as role model and guide. Mukunda was very athletic. He ran like the wind and wrestled like a dervish. At 13, he was the captain of the neighborhood soccer team that played in nearby Greer Park. One day, a flat soccer ball led him up the street to the deaf and dumb school in search of an air pump. Here, he met the son of the school's director, 10-year-old Manumohan Mazumdar, who was destined to become one of his closest friends and lifelong spiritual brother, Swami Satyananda. Soon after their meeting, Mukunda introduced the younger Manumohan to spiritual practice. The two inseparable friends spent hours meditating in an attic room at Mukunda's house. The urge to deeper spiritual realization had become a burning passion within the young Mukunda. He dreamt of leaving home and joining the reclusive sadhus living in the Himalayan wilderness. Several times he tried running away to follow his dream, but his plans were always thwarted. In 1907, one of the major formative influences in Yogananda's early years came into his life. Ashutosh Chattopadhyay, known as Shastri Mahashaya, was a remarkable being and revered scholar. He held the most prestigious degrees and titles in Sanskrit and Eastern studies. With affection and high regard, his guru, Lahiri Baba, would address him as scholarly sir or rishi, meaning great sage. Throughout his life, he faced many domestic difficulties, yet he lived as a master, egoless, non-attached, simple, without concern for money. Those who were privileged to be in his sacred company were inspired. His grounded, quiet character awakened reverence and belief, encouraging them to seek the higher goal of spiritual realization. Shastri Mahashaya was so humble that when hired to tutor Mukunda in Sanskrit, the family was not aware of how highly he was respected as a scholar. Mukunda was enraptured by this great yogi, who formally initiated him in Kriya Yoga and served as his first guru. Under Shastri Mahashaya's guidance, Mukunda's fervor for Kriya Yoga practice intensified and blossomed, resulting in rapid spiritual progress. He was so enthusiastic that he brought many of his friends to be initiated by his enlightened guru. His mother's photo of Lahiri Mahashaya became a prized possession, object of his devotion and meditations. The next year, at the age of 15, Mukunda rented a small adobe hut next to a canal about a kilometer from his home for 1 rupee per month. He and Mano Mahan transformed this into their first spiritual center, Sadhana Mandir. Mukunda whitewashed the building inside and out to make it bright and suitable for devotion and worship. Desire to make a beautiful place and attention to all of the most minute details set the tone for his future endeavors. He created an altar with religious items, pictures of saints, gods, and goddesses. The boys would sneak out in the evening and come here to chant, pray, meditate, and study the Bhagavad Gita. In time, other schoolboys and some local folks joined their regular devotional sessions. The next year, his friend Tulsi Bose, who lived around the corner from the Ghosh residence, offered rooms for use as a new meeting place. Mukunda's obsession with his spiritual quest led him to seek out saints and enlightened persons to study their teachings and imitate their practice. He felt a profound reverence and attraction for Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, the illumined mystic sage who had been the priest at Dakshineswar Kali Temple on the outskirts of Calcutta. He made regular visits to this holy ground, often bringing his younger brother Sananda, along with Mano Mahan and other friends, sitting for hours in meditation in the grove of trees where the great saint attained his enlightenment. Mukunda also visited Baluramat, final resting place of Sri Ramakrishna and his chief disciple, Swami Vivekananda. He was there so often that the head monk referred to him as our boy. Whenever possible, he sought out the company of other eminent disciples, such as Swami Turiyananda. When Sarada Devi, Ramakrishna's wife, visited Yogadhyan in Calcutta, Mukunda rushed to be the first to touch her feet in reverence. He often read to his friends from a book of the great saint's teachings that he carried in his pocket. After graduating from high school in 1909, Mukunda enrolled in Metropolitan College, purchased textbooks, and half-heartedly began attending classes. He met a young Swami, Dayananda, in temporary residence near his home. 16-year-old Mukunda was attracted by the intelligence and dispassion of this model of renunciate life. The two quickly became friends. Within a month, the impulsive Mukunda convinced his father to let him go to Benares to live in the Bharat Dharma Mahamandal ashram where Swami Dayananda was the head monk. His father reluctantly agreed, but the family was quite upset that the boy was not going to continue his studies. Uncle Sarada Ghosh in Serampore informed Mukunda's father that Swami Sri Yukteswar, a grounded, rational brother-disciple, was visiting Benares. He sent a letter asking the Swami to speak with the boy. He also wrote Mukunda, asking him to meet with this holy man. Swami Sri Yukteswar, incarnation of wisdom, was an enlightened visionary, a tireless teacher who aspired to unify spirituality. Through organized groups around Northeast India, he disseminated and popularized Kriya Yoga practice, along with the study of the Bhagavad Gita. He was able to transform the impulsive Mukunda into a focused dynamo, Swami Yogananda. In 1855, Priyanath Karar, who would later become Swami Sri Yukteswar, was born in the town of Serampore. His parents were affluent, with several rental properties and a family business. An only child, Priyanath was bright, intelligent, athletic, and inquisitive, with a compulsive urge to learn. He was driven to discover the truth about the world around him and the deeper world within. With a special love of math and science, he was known amongst his friends and elders in the community as having a quick, insightful mind. While Priyanath was still a young boy, his father passed away, leaving his mother to run the family business. Attending Serampore Christian College, he studied the Bible and developed a profound understanding and deep respect for the philosophy and teachings of Christianity. His thirst for knowledge of the inner working of the human body went unquenched, as his probing questions could not be answered. In frustration, his science professor suggested that he attend medical school. Priyanath convinced the head of the medical college in Calcutta to allow him to attend classes. He studied physics, chemistry, biology, anatomy, and physiology for almost 2 years. He married, was briefly involved with his family's business, then worked as a clerk. None of these positions suited him. After his mother's passing, he sold his estates to the tenants and invested the proceeds in government bonds. This provided him with a lifelong income. Love of music led him to learn a few compositions on the sitar. His performance was so enchanting that his teacher often asked that he play for others. Priyanath felt that music should be a part of everyone's education. As a young man in his 20s, Priyanath was driven by a thirst to discover the essence of life and his own spiritual nature. Whenever he heard of saints or holy men, he sought them out observed and studied them, and learned from them practices he could implement. He met several authentic holy men. Befriending and learning from these spiritual masters enabled him to greatly deepen the knowledge and the experience of his own self. One mentor who Priyanath visited regularly in Benares was the highly revered saint Trialinga Swami. Observant and discerning, he also debunked several so-called miracle workers, seeing the trick behind their extraordinary claims. His wife and daughter both died young. His granddaughter, being raised by her father's family, left him free to continue his spiritual quest in earnest. Known for his quick wit, delightful sense of humor, and love of the arts, Priyanath could converse intelligently on almost any topic. In the upper-class society of Serampore, he was a welcome guest, advising lawyers, doctors, and public officials. At a social function, he overheard friends talking of their saintly guru. When he pressed them to find out more, they refused, explaining that they had been told not to reveal their teacher or his teachings. His only clue was that the saint lived in Benares. After searching for some time, he finally located the secret yogi, Lahiri Mahashaya, and was initiated into the practice of Kriya Yoga at the age of 28. When his mother wished to move to holy Benares, he rented rooms in Rana Mahal, adjacent to Chausati Ghat, where his guru would come to bathe and walk along the Ganges. He visited Lahiri Baba often. They would sit and talk about many topics long after all other disciples had departed. He realized afterwards that, through these informal talks, his guru had been subtly instructing him. Priyanath maintained his relationship with Trialinga Swami and continued to seek out saints and advanced yogis, discussing their approaches to experiencing the divine. He studied Ayurveda, the science of life and wellness, and became a master of Vedic astrology. He established a group to study and discuss the Bhagavad Gita based on Lahiri Baba's interpretations. He wrote a few books, including commentaries on the first 9 chapters of the Gita, sharing his own insights resulting from group discussions and the latest scientific theories from the East and West, all validated by his enlightened guru. Priyanath had been thinking about the spiritual potential of Westerners. He saw many similarities between the Christian Bible and Hindu philosophy. At the 1894 religious festival, the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad, he met a yogi of unusual radiance. During their conversation, he shared his views with the saint, who agreed, suggesting that he write a book on the matter. Later, when recounting the episode to Lahiri Baba, he discovered that the saint he met was the illustrious master Babaji. The next year, the book, The Holy Science, was completed, and Babaji visited him in Serampore. Lahiri Mahashaya passed in 1895 during the Durga Puja festival. Priyanath was present at his beloved guru's home every year on that day, to honor him and to commemorate his transition. With the help of his disciple Motilal Thakur, he turned his family home in Serampore into a hermitage called Priyadam. Here, Motilal helped transform the Gita Sabha gatherings into Satsanga Sabha, Society for God Realization. A printing press was installed to print booklets and a quarterly newsletter. They conducted seminars to introduce the general public to esoteric meanings of Scripture, spiritual practice, and created formal groups for ongoing study across northern India. Priyanath Karar's main focus always remained grounded in the Kriya Yoga practices he learned from his revered master. He taught that all other works are secondary to realizing the ultimate self through austerity, self-study, and self-surrender to the Lord. In 1904, his profound belief in the importance of education led him to found Karar Ashram for boys on the East Coast in Puri. He instructed his students that Karar meant servant, and he would advise that each individual be a helper or servant to each other. Later, he would encourage his disciples to incorporate his innovative ideas about teaching in the schools and centers that they would go on to create. By 1906, Priyanath was already living like a monastic, completely focused on his spiritual path and teaching ministry through Satsanga Sabha. He decided to take monastic vows and become a Swami so he could teach and interact with members of all castes and religions. A Swami is free to come and go without constraints. Instead of Mrs. or Mr., Priyanath would address every member of his spiritual fellowship with the title Shri Yukta, Radiant One, before their name, to remind them that they are expressions of God. He was given the name Shri Yukteswar from Shri Yukta combined with Ishvara, God. In Benares, with the help of his brother disciple, Swami Pranabhananda, a third ashram, which he called Pranabashram, was created in his rented rooms. Here, they would conduct classes and seminars on Vedic astrology and continue the work of Satsanga Sabha. In a lifetime of selfless service dedicated to his beloved Guru and the ideal of God realization, he was responsible for spreading the teaching of Lahiri Mahashaya across northern India, paving the way for its broader dissemination around the world. In the summer of 1910, Swami Shri Yukteswar Giri was in Benares when he received a letter from Sarada Ghosh requesting he convince nephew Mukunda to return home and attend college. The Swami sent someone to the Bharat Dharma Mahamandal ashram to check up on the boy and ask for a meeting. Shri Yukteswar was coming from his rooms in Rana Mahal into the Bengali Tola market through this lane when he saw Mukunda, who was immediately attracted to the charismatic Swami. After a brief exchange, Shri Yukteswar invited the lad to his rooms. There, in Rana Mahal, overlooking the sacred Ganges, spellbound by the sage's spiritual power and straightforward teaching, Mukunda asked to be accepted as his disciple. Shri Yukteswar agreed, then suggested that the boy return home and attend college to earn his degree. By September, following his guru's wishes, Mukunda enrolled in the Scottish Church College of Calcutta. In school, he met Basu Kumar Bagchi, who became the third member of an inseparable band of spiritual friends. Mukunda was a student in name only. Rarely attending classes, he devoted most of his time to spiritual practice and visits to his guru and other sages. In August 1911, on the occasion of Lord Krishna's birthday, Mukunda conducted special rites for he and his dear friends, Basu Kumar, Shishir Kumar, and Manomohan Mazumdar. They committed themselves to the ideals of monastic renunciation, resolving to become swamis after graduation. They promised to always deeply think of each other on this special day, wherever they would be in the future. During 2 years in Calcutta College, the trio of aspiring yogis, Mukunda, Manomohan, and Basu, continued to use the rooms at Tulsi Bose's house. Here they practiced meditation, studied the Bhagavad Gita, and joined together in devotional chanting with God-intoxicated fervor. Others from the community would also attend the Friday evening Satsanga Sabha meetings. A devoted student of Swami Sri Yukteswar, Mukunda found spiritual inspiration and guidance from many sources. He and his friends continued visiting the Kali Temple and Balur Mat for meditation and to be in the company of Ramakrishna's disciples. The sage Nagendranath Baduri, referred to as the levitating saint, was a poised and grounded yogi with an intense love of learning. He lived near the Ghosh residence in a 3-story house. This great spiritual teacher was a font of wisdom and source of motivation on the boy's path of soul awakening. Holding weekly spiritual discourses explaining yoga philosophy, he emphasized bhakti yoga, the path of devotion, as the easiest and surest way to realize God. Kind and compassionate, he advocated proper education of youth and a harmonious synthesis of religions. Another educator who lived nearby had a profound effect on young Mukunda. Master Mahashaya, the faithful disciple who wrote the Gospel of Ramakrishna, was now running a school at 50 Amherst Street. Humble, gentle, wise, and nurturing by nature, his innovative teaching style earned him great respect in the educational community. Mukunda loved to be in the Master's uplifting, inspiring presence. Almost every day he would visit to meditate and hear stories about Sri Ramakrishna. Master Mahashaya's ever-blissful state of fervor for Divine Mother intoxicated the boy, fanning flames of devotion in his receptive heart. Mukunda had a great reverence for the high realization of Swami Ramatirtha and his successful teaching mission abroad in America and Japan. In his pocket he carried a booklet of the Swami's sayings and blissfully read from it to his friends. He adapted some of Swami Ramatirtha's poetry into songs using traditional Bengali melodies. Later, in America, he composed many chants and poems highly inspired by the Swami's writings. After Mukunda graduated with a 2-year degree, Sri Yukteswar encouraged him to enter Serampore Christian College to obtain his B.A. In Serampore, he first lived with Uncle Sarada, who had arranged for him to meet Sri Yukteswar 3 years earlier. After a few months, he moved to Panti boarding house near Raigat. Sri Yukteswar's ashram was close, several blocks away. The Karar family estate included a large garden, courtyard, and hall for worship. The mansion was decorated with remnants of his family's past as wealthy landlords. Shields and swords adorned the walls, and fine furniture populated the rooms. Here, Mukunda spent many hours learning at his beloved Guru's feet. Through duties, spiritual discussion, disciplined practice, and the harsh criticism of Master Sri Yukteswar, he was transformed. Sri Yukteswar was outgoing, gregarious, and could easily, intelligently converse with anyone about anything, spending hours in conversation with visitors. Yet he expected disciples to see to their practice and remain introspective, not to waste time talking. Later, as Swami Yogananda, Mukunda would comment that Swami Sri Yukteswar would have had many more disciples if he had not been so strict and critical. When asked what his guru had done for him, Yogananda replied, "He made me what I am. I needed his discipline to balance my devotional temperament." In 1915, after graduating from college with a BA degree, in a ceremony presided over by his guru, Mukunda took his final monastic vows, becoming Swami Yogananda Giri. The meeting place at Tulsi Bose's house was refurbished and landscaped. Rooms were prepared for a meeting hall and kitchen. This center was the seed that would blossom into the worldwide teaching mission of Yogananda. Swami Sri Yukteswar joined them once a week for community satsang, teaching and interaction, along with meditation. In the summer of 1916, Swami Yogananda told his dear friend Manu Mahan that he was feeling restless and wanted to go abroad. Two of his spiritual heroes, Swami Vivekananda and Swami Ramatirtha, were both very popular when they visited America to teach, and were greatly admired by young Indians. At this time, it was very difficult for natives of India to obtain a visa to visit America. Swami Yogananda learned of a program being set up for the education of Indian students in Japan. Thinking it might be possible to obtain a visa to America from Japan, with the help of a friend he applied and was accepted. After only 1 week in Japan, he learned that he could not obtain the coveted visa for travel to the United States, and returned home. During his return trip on a steamship, he met an American couple. After several conversations, they encouraged him to come to America to lecture and teach. Feeling this as an invitation to his destiny, he quickly wrote an outline for the spiritual talk he envisioned giving in America, Dharma Vijnana, which became his first book, The Science of Religion. Back at home, Swami Sri Yukteswar asked him to become more involved in organizational affairs and encouraged him to start delivering speeches on spiritual subjects at special events. He was preparing him for the future. Assuming new responsibilities, Yogananda began coordinating the activities of his guru's ministry, while starting a simple school with a few boys in the spiritual center at Tulsi Bose's house. His guru and mentors Master Mahashaya and Nagendranath Paduri shared their ideas for educational reform with the young yogi and encouraged him to create a larger, more formal school. He asked his friend Basu to draft a proposal requesting support for this new expanded school from Sir Mahendra Chandra Nandi, the Maharaja of Kazan Bazar. Sir Nandi had been knighted by the British Crown in 1915 for his lifelong support of general education, providing funding for many universities and schools for all age levels. Swami Yogananda's innovative approach to education, incorporating a balance of physical, intellectual, moral, and spiritual development, impressed the Maharaja, who offered his house and property in Dihika on the banks of the Damodar River for use as an ashram and school. This was the beginning of a long relationship, with Sir Nandi financially supporting Yogananda's institutions, making it possible for the work to grow and prosper. 1917 saw the dawn of this educational experiment with 6 students in an enchanting pastoral land amidst the beauty of nature. The school's program included devotional chanting, singing, recitation of sacred verses, study, house cleaning, sports, hatha yoga, gardening, meditation, and spiritual talk. Swami Sri Yukteswar visited, offered suggestions for methods of teaching, and gave his blessing. Yogananda served as teacher and director. Basu Kumar, now Swami Dhirananda, was administrator, and Shastri Mahashaya joined the staff as teacher and headmaster. Manu Mahan remained in Calcutta to manage the ashram there and would visit the new school to assist from time to time. Another successful pioneering educator, Rabindranath Tagore, heard of Yogananda's school and sent representatives to Dihika. Impressed by their glowing report, Tagore invited Yogananda to visit. During their meeting, he shared much useful advice and encouragement. It was at his school, Shantiniketan, that the inspiration came to conduct classes outdoors beneath the trees. Yogananda's ashram school was remarkably successful and grew quickly. He also took personal responsibility to teach impoverished local children in a thatched roof hut nearby. Within a year, in 1918, the school had grown to the point where it needed to expand. Once again, the Maharaja of Kazan came to Yogananda's aid, offering his estate in Ranchi with more room for growth and a larger population to serve. Here, the vision really blossomed. Highly regarded for its effective teaching in both academic and spiritual areas, the school grew rapidly. Students were learning outdoors in a natural setting with a balance of fresh air, exercise, study, and meditation. Manu Mahan had become Swami Satyananda. He and Dhirananda were Yogananda's left hand and right hand, teaching and assisting with the myriad details of running the school, helping to make possible its success. From the beginning, the school relied upon the vision and tireless energy of Swami Yogananda. He served as fundraiser, administrator, teacher, and principal, surrounding himself with young, inspired, enthusiastic teachers. He was, by turns, disciplinarian, peacemaker, and inspiration. He helped create the curriculum, led outings, conducted chanting and Sankirtan programs every Saturday evening. He was constantly planning for future expansion of services and activities. In the evenings, he would engage in discussions with his dear friend, Satyananda. He loved cooking, often innovating new recipes. He was ever attentive to the comfort of the guests who visited the ashram school. He directed and worked with the students in creating the gardens and caring for the animals which he loved to have roaming the grounds. When the Venerable Swami Pranabhananda visited the school, he commented that his guru, Lahiri Mahashaya, would have been very pleased seeing his views on education being carried out so well. After reading a book by the bodybuilding pioneer Eugene Sandow, Swami Yogananda created a program of energization exercises to enhance health and vitality, combining visualization, muscle tension, and breathing. As a schoolboy, his younger brother Vishnu learned these innovative exercises and built upon them to become world famous for his expertise in physical culture and Hatha Yoga. One morning, in the summer of 1920, at the age of 27, Swami Yogananda had a vivid dream of being in America. Feeling the time had come to share his love for God with the world, he returned to Calcutta, where he made arrangements for the long journey. Never doubting, he went forth, knowing all grace was supporting him in following his intuition and long-time desire to go. Support came in many forms. He was invited by a friend of Satyananda's to represent India at the International Congress of Religious Liberals in Boston. This allowed him to obtain an otherwise impossible visa. His father agreed to provide financing for the trip and ongoing expenses while abroad. He left Swami Dhirananda in charge of the Ranchi school and sent his other spiritual brother, Swami Satyananda, to oversee the Karar ashram in Puri. All was in place for operations to continue uninterrupted in his absence. In the fall of 1920, he boarded the City of Sparta, bound for Boston. It was the first passenger ship to depart from India to America since World War I. His revered guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, visited in his stateroom before departure, gave some parting advice, suggested that he teach from the holy science, and reassured him that he would be well received and ever guided from within. Yogananda followed his heart, crossing the ocean to share his awakened consciousness with the Western world. Mukunda Lal Ghosh was transformed from a dedicated lover of God to his faithful, tireless servant. As the selfless Swami Yogananda, he became a spiritual dynamo, inspiring, motivating, encouraging, leading, and guiding so many onto a path to know God. He had a remarkable impact on all those who knew him. Before leaving India, he had organized the teaching centers and publications of his guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. He would go on to transform the Satsanga Sabha into a new global outreach as Yogoda Satsanga. He founded an alternative school with innovative educational and spiritual practices, offering them for free to the lower classes that would not otherwise have been able to attend school. All this prepared him for the work he would accomplish during his next 31 years in America. He was a visionary, ever grounded in the practical development and plans for future growth of his ministry, remaining firmly established in the awareness of God's will moving through him, awake to his own innate divine nature. He said, "I sow the seeds of my desires into the ethers, and they must come into manifestation." And they have. While alive, he touched hundreds of thousands. In his lectures, eloquent words awakened responsive hearts. His classes motivated students to live a nobler life. His poems and chants fueled devotional ardor. His books, magazines, and monthly lessons carried his enthusiasm and love of God into homes around the world. He worked intimately with sincere individuals and close disciples, assisting their spiritual evolution, ordaining some to teach, initiate, and continue the Kriya Yoga tradition in India and America. Since his passing on March 7, 1952, his work continues to blossom, influencing and touching lives everywhere. Paramahansa Yogananda is responsible for introducing the health and spiritual benefits of yoga to the West. The popularity of Hatha Yoga for physical well-being, through his promotion, paved the way for the steady stream of yoga teachers who would emerge in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. His tireless teaching of the usefulness of meditation to know and experience God and to improve the quality of life set the stage for all those who have followed. The widespread practice and growing acceptance of this life-enhancing process has helped transform millions of lives. The work, as he called it, continues to bear fruit, expanding from personal growth to applications in the fields of corporate efficiency, neuroscience, and healthcare. His seminal Autobiography of a Yogi has been a bestseller in its category since publication in 1946. Yogananda said, "This book will be my messenger when I am gone." Selling millions of copies, it has been translated into more than 45 languages, touching and changing lives for more than 60 years. His work improved our culture, influencing politics, movies, music, science, education, and physical well-being. His books and lessons for spiritual growth and awakening continue to be distributed to a worldwide audience hungry to find meaning in life. The organization founded to carry his teachings into the future, Self-Realization Fellowship, Yogoda Satsanga Society, has more than 500 centers in 157 countries. His mother India has 50 YSS centers and ashrams, some supporting large schools, giving free medical care, providing much-needed services in impoverished areas. In his adopted homeland, America, Self-Realization Fellowship carries on his mission with 100 centers, ongoing classes, study lessons, an annual convocation, and dissemination of new books and lectures by SRF monks and nuns. Every center worldwide is an oasis of peace, adorned with resplendent gardens and permeated with the loving consciousness of a true man of God. Dahika. Dakshinesvar. Dwarahat in the Himalayas. Ranchi. San Diego Temple. Hollywood Temple. Encinitas Hermitage and Retreat. Lake Shrine in Pacific Palisades. And the SRF headquarters atop Mount Washington in Los Angeles. Each temple and ashram reflects Yogananda's exquisite sensitivity to beauty, attention to detail, and intention to create an environment that would automatically make one feel closer to God. A few of Yogananda's ordained personal disciples created outreach and organizations that continue to share the great master's teachings. Yogacharya Oliver Black founded the SRF Center in Detroit and a yoga retreat, Song of the Morning Ranch, in Michigan. Swami Kriyananda founded Ananda, with world headquarters in California. Roy Eugene Davis founded Center for Spiritual Awareness, with world headquarters in Georgia. Paramahansa Yogananda's legacy is the fruit of his vision and inspired innovation in the teaching of Kriya Yoga. Lahiri Mahashaya innovated by taking the timeless practices of renunciate sages and adapting them for modern householders. Swami Sri Yukteswar innovated by popularizing his guru's teachings. He created a network of study groups and ashrams, maintaining a presence from Benares to Puri with regular visits and through the publication of magazines and booklets. Continuing the tradition, Yogananda adapted the essence of practices which had evolved in the spiritually grounded culture of his homeland to the more pragmatic, scientific, and Christian West. Thus, combining the best of his beloved India with the best of his beloved America, he conveyed the world-unifying message so dear to his master. Much more than an ambassador of India's rich spiritual heritage, Paramahansa Yogananda was an emissary of the divine to mankind. He worked to accomplish a higher vision where, through universal brotherhood resulting from the recognition of the divine in everyone, world peace can prevail.
We pray that on the greater altar of our united hearts, may God's love, wisdom and bliss reign forever and forever.
With the love of God, I will think with the thoughts of all, the hearts of all will be my heart, the souls of all will be my soul, and the smiles of all my smile. I will love with the love of God, I will think with the thoughts of all, the hearts of all will be souls of all will be my soul, and the smiles of all my smile. Thy peace and I are one, thy joy and I are one, thy wisdom and I are one, thy love and I are one. Thy peace and I are one, thy joy and I are one, thy wisdom and I are one, thy love and I are one. I will flow to the shore of bliss, I will sing through the voice of all, and